Operation status quo. Operation status quo. Prepare to engage. Operation status quo. Ready to engage. Operation status quo. Engaged. Engaged. Hey, 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 hey. Hello to you. You know what? Maybe I should rethink how I come on sometimes, right? You know, maybe that's like the biggest turn off. You know, hey, hey, hi, ho, ho, and that click, 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 and that's it. We watch 30 seconds, and that's it. We're done with this video. Hey, everybody, how we doing out there on a Monday? Hello, and welcome to Operation Status Quo. I am your user-friendly host, Pete Palma, and of course, here on Operation Status Quo, we know that this is a place that we observe the status quo of life. We learn to flow with the status quo of life. And of course, then we create our own flow of quo, because that's the only way to go. And what are we really in this life, as it were? Ladies and gentlemen, ultimately, we are observers, right? We're here for a short time in this physical incarnation. It seems so serious. It seems so heavy. And yet, it's so fleeting at the same time. So just things to consider as we always talk about here. First and foremost, welcome if you're new here to Operation Status Quo. This is a place of togetherness. It's like kind of just hanging out with your buddies, having a conversation. I'd like to be your buddy. Can I be your friend? Remember I love Cable Guy, by the way. It's one of my favorite movies. I just always like, when Matthew Broderick goes, "I'm really sorry. I just have no room in my life for any new friends right now." And Jim Carrey's all like, "I appreciate your honesty, Steven. You're a real straight shooter." And of course, then he starts like harassing him all over the place. I'm sorry to digress as I normally do. I digress from digressing. I think I regress and I'll digress from that. But anyway, you know how my brain works. If you're here on a regular basis, I kind of flip flop all around. I'm not a flip flopper as far as opinions go, but I flip flop like my brain is like a fish out of water. The fish comes out of water, it lands like on the deck or wherever, or inside the boat or wherever you're getting the fish, and it just starts flapping all around. And that's like kind of what my brain does all day long. So just be thankful that you don't have to deal with that the way I do. So. But anyway, today is the 26th of June in the good year 2023, moving right along. I hope you guys are getting ready for a nice 4th of July weekend coming up and holiday and all that type of stuff. Celebrate with your friends, your family. Before I get into, today's title of the program, of course, is The Dream of Dreaming. And before we get into it, just a note again to back up to where I was before I went on my little tangent, that this is just a place where we can just like look at life a little in an aloof way. I like to say it like that. We look at life like in kind of like an aloof way without getting all riled up and tight. Think about how tight it is sometimes when you're thinking about things and everything that's going on in the world and everything you got to do and pressure, tight. It's like a pressure cooker, So, we try to avoid that here on this program. This is a space to just kind of like chuckle. We chuckle at what's going on in the world. You hear the stories like, I don't want to chuckle about the submersible vessel that imploded going down the sea of Titanic. But that we talk about things here in a much different way than in other spaces. And again, I'm going to get to my point. So, this is what it is. This is just a chat session. So, I have my topic, but whatever comes to mind, I also add other things in because that's just the way we do here. And of course, if you're watching while I'm here live, I would love for you to chime in and add your comments and ask some questions. And we could take the discussion in whatever way it needs to go from there. But otherwise, I will continue. And of course, we feel bad for that. But when I look at the what happened with that the Titan, first and foremost, because I always look at things, whatever the news is showing us and telling us, we know something different's going on. So, the people that were killed in that tragedy, were some pretty high influential people who have ties to a lot of the deep state stuff. So, I mean, this is for you to research on your own. Like, they put the names up of everybody. You could start digging in and looking at who they really were and like, did this really happen? Was there really an accident? I mean, who really knows is what I'm trying to say. And on top of it, what's really ironic to me, the thing that stood out the most to me about the whole thing is that the Titanic sank, and now the ship, this little submersible that goes down to view it, is called the Titan. And I just, and then that implodes. And, I just find that very, it's too convenient is all I'm trying to say, right? Like, like why wasn't it called the SS Minnow? Or I just tease it, but, like of all names, this thing's the Titan, the Titanic, these billionaires or whatever that's on there, and some of the ties they had, some of their family lines, and who they go to. It's just so much deeper than what is projected. Just like with everything with Russia and Ukraine, every time I watch the news, like it's just so interesting because they always make it so devastating. It's always like the Ukraine side of things and how hard they're struggling to fight off this invasion, from their freedom and all this type of thing or whatever they want to. How they kind of skew it. Like what I mean is there's never any objectivity, right? Like you never see the other side of like, well, they never talk about what Russia's doing or why or anything like that. It's always just automatically Putin is like a maniac trying to take over the world and, all this kind of stuff. And of course, I've talked about this on this program a couple times as far as some of that stuff goes and what's really going on in Ukraine. And, again, it's never about the people themselves and the nations, whether it be the citizens of Russia, the citizens of Ukraine. It's always the good people, the normal, everyday people just trying to make a life. They're the ones that suffer at the hands of these people who are trying to do whatever nonsense they're trying to do. But I think, again, we don't watch the news at face value, right? We've learned that we're being lied to and everything's generally a show. So, and this, believe it or not, this does tie into my topic today, but everything's a show. So, you have to remember that, what's really going on. There's a lot of deep history of serious corruption with Ukraine. I mean, not this, just on top of it, the business dealings of the current administrator of our country, the clone, as it were, just the stuff that, his ties and his family ties and everything that is involved with that. So anyway, I'm just saying, so all that stuff goes on in the world. And, here in this space, we there's nothing to laugh at, laugh at people dying in war or, I don't mean it to like not have a heart or take it seriously in some sort of emotionally human capacity. But in general, we realize that this life is not the real life. And all these things are in reality a show because the powers that be and those that are really operating the world, they know a lot higher truths than have been disseminated to the general population. So they're able to manipulate. They understand about time and space, that there is no such thing as time and all that, all those, anyway, but they're aware of that type of information and they're able to then, project this little, as I always call it, the petri dish of shit of the little life that we live that we think is this, whoa, this is what we do and we're humans and this is what, this is what a human life entails. But in actuality, they're kind of funneling us into a limited and suppressed, I would say, method of thought that really limits us as not just us as individuals, but us as an entirety, as a species, to the levels that we could grow and what we really could accomplish if things were done in a different way. All right. So, I mean, I could, honestly, I got so much, all of a sudden, all this stuff's like coming to my head. Like, I always just think about all right, I'm not going to get into all of it, because this is not what this is supposed to, this is not what this is supposed to be about. I was just thinking though, in general, like, how our lives are, and how we work all the time, for all this stuff, not just the material things that we think are fun, but just food. Let me just say the basic stuff like food, water, and shelter and like what it takes to, go grocery shop and the things you have to buy and how it's all done. Like, I mean, I know it sounds so crazy, right? I know it sounds crazy in a certain way, but I mean, is it really beyond the realm of a possibility to create an environment where like people aren't even like thinking about food so much, a community is a community there, food grows naturally from the earth, we just tend to it and everybody can just eat, even houses, like, I get it. Like, it's hard to think about. I don't mean this in a way that we shouldn't own anything. I know there's a whole thing going on, whatever the Agenda 2030 or whatever, that they're, working towards this way of saying, basically you don't own anything and it's better, everybody just, but I mean, imagine it not from a way of suppression, like what I'm saying is like, the Native Americans, if they had like a piece of land where they built their, their tents or teepees or whatever you want to say, and all that type of stuff, like, did they like welcome to my teepee? Do they have a sign out front like we do at our houses? I'm just saying, like, they build all these facility, like a structure for a community. And you build structures, and everyone just kind of shares in them together. I don't know. I just, without the worry of like whether you can afford something, or if you're going to get kicked out of your house. Like, I don't know. Like, if you're in an Indian tribe and maybe you go a month or two and you're unable to catch a buffalo for the tribe to eat, like maybe they kick you out because you're not supplying anything, not helping with anything. I don't know how it really plays out, but I definitely believe that we can create an environment where there's plenty for all of us, and there's bounty. It's bountiful, as it were, and people don't have to struggle for everything they want to do. And that's the purpose of the show, basically, is to try to create a space where people think a little bit differently outside of the box and start working towards. And I'm not saying what people have to do. I mean, it is what it is. This is our journey, and it is what it is. But the more you can kind of get out of that limited thought and that limited space, think about how much more we can grow as a community. All right, so I'm noticing here that I see a little buffering on my stream, so hopefully we're not dropping too many frames. It seems like we are dropping some frames, but hopefully you guys are seeing me, and at least the audio is coming through clearly, but who knows? This is what happens sometimes with the technology, and you just got to deal with it, and that's pretty much the way it is. So today's program is The Dream of Dreaming. And I really thought of this today because I had such an intense dream last night. And when I woke up and I was just thinking about it, I don't have to get into the details. I'll give just a quick synopsis. But, a friend of mine, is somebody that I knew, I used to hang out with in my early days, I guess like showed up where I was living now. I mean, but it wasn't this house. You know how it goes. It's your house, but it's not your house and all that type of thing. And was hanging out. And I had brought some people with them. I let these people come and stay in my house. And then my brother was with me in the dream, and he kept trying to tell me they were messing up stuff in the house and rearranging things and doing all this stuff. And I was like, oh, no, it's all right. And I kept saying, oh, it's all right. It's right. So, and I was having a conversation with, the friend that came. But then my brother pulled me aside. He wanted to show me what was going on. So he takes me out to the garage. And in the garage was actually the garage. It was the garage from my mother's house, right? And in the garage, he had pulled his RV, I guess, into the garage. So it was like all the way up by the door. He opened the door to go into the garage from inside the house. And, the RV, the front of it was like right there. And then I looked off to the side, and all my stuff that was in the garage was like piled up. They moved everything, and so they can make room for the RV. And ironically enough, like all my DJ equipment was there. I used to DJ weddings and stuff. And I haven't had any of that equipment in years, but I had sold it off. But anyway, long story short, the DJ equipment was there in my dream. So I got me agitated a little bit, like, okay, well, they said they moved everything and put it nicely. The RV's in the garage. It's okay. And then I come back in and I go into the other room, and then I see something's wrong for my cat. This is what really got me crazy in the dream, right? The litter box was broke and off to the side somewhere, like cracked up. It was broken up, and they had just like dumped like a bag of litter that they cut open. They cut open like a bag of litter and just like left it there on the floor. And I was like, what? They broke my cat's litter box and then leave this pile of litter on the floor? And then I just went like ballistic, right? And here's the crazy thing about the dream too. It's like I could see myself. It wasn't like I was looking from, especially when I went after them, like it wasn't like me, like in your like everyday life, like looking from your perspective. Like I was seeing me like in the dream, like from another perspective. And then I just went after these guys, and I went crazy, and I threw them all out of the house and told them all this, how dare you come in here, and you don't even ask, and you start moving stuff around, and I let you stay, and do. And so, and I thought it was, I woke up, oh, geez, I'm sure I can dig into, all the stuff or whatever it was about. But what it really made me think, and the reason why the dream of dreaming, 14 minutes into the program, we're finally getting to it. But the dream of dreaming, and basically it made me realize, like, we started thinking about like how real our dreams feel, and it made me think, because I know a lot of the stuff I follow and study and I'm into, that we choose our experience here in this human body, in this life. We choose basically all the parameters of our life. And when you think about it, as far as like the dream part goes, it's like you think you're dreaming when you're dreaming, but really, like in your waking time is just as much of a dream, because, you think about how real it feels in a dream. And to me, like, that's almost like kind of like what afterlife is, right? Like, in a dream, you're here, and then you walk into the next room, and all of a sudden you're in some other space, and then people come and go, people change shapes or into other people in front of you. I mean, all kinds of stuff, right? In dreams, all of a sudden you're flying in a helicopter, and then you're down on a deck, with there's some big party going on, like I don't know, like all kinds of just like fluff, but it feels real, and it seems cohesive in a sense, like during the dream of like, oh, I'm here and now I'm here. Like you don't say, well, how did this happen? I was just standing in this room and now I'm over here, right? Like you never say that in a dream because it's a dream, but that's why, again, we choose our lives to come here. And I think that's one of the reasons why the human experience, it's talked about universally that, a lot of souls and such, they don't want to come and do this life because it's a hard trek to do the human experience. But what I realized and the point of what I'm talking about is that, like, it made me realize that that's the whole point of the why it is the way it is, as far as it seems so heavy and entrapping, and it's so linear, it's so moment by moment, because when you're in those more ethereal type planes or dimensions or whatever the case may be, you can be a physical body, you can feel what physical body feels, but you're not actually a physical body, right? Like in your dream, you're dreaming, but you're not a physical body in your dream. You are like a vision of yourself in the dream, in a sense, right? It's a thought. It's just an energetic whatever, right? So, and that's what I think here about. And I just think it's a great perspective to try to look at it from, like the fact that, like, I would almost say when you're dreaming, that's more reality than, when we're awake, but we think we're dreaming. But I think you're way more in touch with the other side and your natural state of being in a dream than you are here in this, physical life, because we're so distracted from, those other levels, the dreaminess of it all, if you want to say it that way. We're so distracted from that because we're here in this physical body. We have to tend to, all the needs of the body. We have to tend to our day-to-day life, and everything seems so, heavy. And, but that's the point of it too, because, this life, the frequencies or the vibrations are at such a low space that there's, a higher density. It's almost like the only way, if the soul wants to take on the mission, of learning in that way, it's the only way to really understand, to be present in a sense, because, like, there is no time, right? So every moment is just the one moment, and it's like, how many of those moments, like, during that time, like during a day, during your life, can you take to really be in that moment that is the moment? It's only the one moment. And think about how distracted and pulled away we are, all the time from that. It's always like, okay, come back, let me take a breath and just calm down. Let me take a breath and just relax and get my head straight again, and then, okay, then you're focused, and then you start, and then before you know it, distracted, and like, oh, what was I even doing, thinking for the last half hour? Or where was I? Like, to me, that's another perfect example of how time isn't even real, because sometimes it just kind of like dissipates all around you and you don't even realize what's going on. But I don't know, like I just last night, I dream a lot. Obviously, we all dream. Some people would tell me they don't dream, but I think we all dream, and whether you remember it or not is another story. But I was just kind of woke up today after that one for whatever reason, and just kind of came up with this idea of, like, it's just so interesting, like that's really like the life after. Like, you just kind of pop around. You can be maybe a body from this life, a body from a past life. I mean, who knows? And just kind of popping around, but it would never seem as, I hope I'm getting this point across correctly. This is like what the main point of it is, like how, I don't want to use the word concrete, but that's the word I'm going to use. Use the word concrete. Like, it's so concrete. It's so edgy, like, the three-dimensional. It's so, and it's just like, you're just kind of in it, and it takes a lot to create that space. And again, that's what we try to do here on this channel, is create that space for people to, just think of things in a different way and look at life from a different perspective and a different capacity, realize not to take everything here so seriously. I mean, it is what it is. Like, not for anything, if you as a soul failed in your, I don't want to use the word fail because there never is really fail, but if maybe you didn't accomplish the lessons per se the way you intended to by being incarnated here at this time, you would just do another life and, repeat the lesson. But it just isn't, tell me, drop some comments in the comments, when you're watching this. Let me know what you think, as far as like what I'm talking about. But I think, it's like a dream within a dream, as they say, so this is, to me, I've always said this life is the dream. That's one of the things, like, I kind of preach a lot. I just always talk, people are always talking about, whatever, the afterlife and the this and the that and the, everybody thinks this world is just so real, is all I'm trying to say. They just think you're born, you think you're Joe or Mary or whatever your name is, and you think you're that person, and you think everything that's happening is so, heavy, and it's so, real, and it's so important, and oh my God, what am I going to do? And, all this type of stuff. And I think these are the type of concepts and the thoughts that give us the space to just kind of let it all go and not get wrapped up in, the heaviness of this world. And it goes back to what I said in the beginning, even though I didn't really intend to talk about, Russia or the submersible Titan or any of those type of things. But think about in our world how tragic that seems, or how real that seems, or how important. I'm not saying it's not real, like nothing is happening. I'm just saying that, like, the level we put on it of importance, the level we put on it of like, oh my God, what do we do? Something has to be done. I'm sure even with this Titan thing, they're going to look for every last person on earth to sue up and down. That's what it all comes down to, right? It's always about, like, we're looking into whose fault it is and who did what and who didn't do their proper due diligence, and, who's going to pay for this. It's always like, who's going to pay? You know what I mean? And it's like, at this point, does it matter, like, who pays? I'm just saying the company itself. Don't you think they're going to have a little bit of problem? You think they're going to get some people, ready to go down into that if they build another one? Like, I don't know. Like, they might not feel so confident to get in that little sub and go down there. And the same thing, even like, with the war, again, maybe people know people that are there. I have no idea how much of what we see is real, how much of what we see is propaganda, and what is actually transpiring. They keep talking about tens of thousands, however many people, soldiers have died so far. Have they? Is it that many? And I don't know. And I'm not saying yes or no. I'm just trying to say all we know is what the little boob tube shows us, and whatever they say on CNN, CSN, MSNBC, Fox, whatever nonsense they're talking. That's all we really know. And that's why what did I say? The dream of dreaming, because even that is a dream, because basically everything comes from a space of thoughts behind the scenes before the physical shows itself. So, everything is happening, has happened, is happening, and will happen again. Yeah, that's one of the things I've said throughout my whole life. because like time is instantaneous, and it merely takes on the shape of what it's given. You put time in a bowl. It takes on. You put water. Put like water. Like I said, time takes the shape is time takes the shape of what it's given. Just like water. You put water in a bowl, and it takes that shape. You put water in a tall, thin glass. It takes that shape. So it's the same. It's the same concept. So. Enjoy your dreams and enjoy your life. Even though things seem crazy, I talk about this all the time. Things may seem a little out of control and a little upsetting and off-putting. But hey, at the end of it all, we're coming, we're going. It is what it is. We're forever, because we're part of the one energy that is forever. I know it's a hard concept, and everybody's always worried about, well, am I going to remember my life? And, am I going to have my body? And all that stuff. I'm sure we would chuckle on the other side once we move on from this current condition, as it were. But so anyway, the dream of dreaming, ladies and gentlemen. What is real? What is the dream? What is the dream? Is there any reality, right? Because there is only one moment in time. So as real as this reality seems, and how much we label it, and again, that's the ego with the labels and the attachment. As much as we label this as, yes, this is the world, these are the rules, this is what we do, but really know, because all those rules and parameters can change even within the physical paradigm, just based on the energy that we give what our physical paradigm is, right, in the 3D. So anyway, that's it. Those are my thoughts today on Operation Status Quo. So I would love to hear from you out there, what you're thinking, and if you want to participate here, of course, you're more than welcome. Just let me know. You can either come on with me, or you can send me information on topics you'd like for me to discuss, and I'd be happy to do that as well. Please, if it behooves you to do such, like, subscribe, share, send this out to your friends, your family, those you love, and those you despise as well, because we know they need the most help of all. I love each and every one of you out there individually as well as a group. I thank you for your time, as I always do. It's a pleasure for me to be here and to speak to you people out there, because really I just want to send positive messages and, help people to feel like a little bright spot in the day. So hopefully this can be that for you. All right, ladies and gentlemen, I'm Pete Palma. Thanks again for your time. And until tomorrow, Operation Status Quo disengaged.
Is a boulevard of 10 short blocks.